Now, earlier on, I just kind of demonstrate some sort of testing sort of coding, and then afterwards I felt like, oh, that's too messy. I want to reorganize it. And sorry, I make a sort of little sort of wrong demonstration. Now, if we want to merge this to that, what you need to do is to select those that you want to say, I want to merge all of them under test, right? Those, I want to select them again, use the right click. What you can do first is to cut. Means I don't want to have it. But where do you want to put it? Okay, I want to put it together with the one with the parent. So, and then you put it, and then you paste it. So whatever you have originally underneath it, it will paste it up to the parent. So I do it again. So I want to delete test it, cut it out. And then I want to paste it and merge it. It didn't show. Yeah, it worked before. Cut. Merge it with the selected node. I'm sorry. Merge it into, we need to merge the two, is to merge into the select node. And they said, everything? Yes, everything. So they should merge together. That is, the test 8 should be gone. Is it not? Cut and merge. Yes. Okay, so you select the one that you don't want to have it and merge it together. You cut it first, and then you select it. Say, I want to merge it here, and then you right click, merge into the selected node. Everything. So it should be getting together. Okay, so that's how you so-called, if you got too many child nodes and then you know they are so similar, then you cut it and then merge it to the selected node. Then they will merge or whatever coding that you have had. Okay, is it clear? Right. The next thing I said, okay, let's look at the Excel, the data sets. At the moment in your sample file, if you select social media, if you click social media in your folder, you should see a file which is, if you click it, it's like it's an Excel, right? So if you click it, yeah, you got cells, and then you got some of the columns with the qualitative description. And if you see these are the gray, some columns are gray, means you cannot code. That is, they have defined some parameter, and you cannot, and you do not code those area. You only code the column that is white in your file. Okay, I want you, just for an exercise purpose, given that you have the social media Excel file with you, just play with it and select maybe one of the scripts, identify it. Remember, you open your notes there. You have your note in the middle or the second column, and then you define, and maybe you just play with, this is the script or the content you want to code. Select it. Remember, and then hold your mouse and drag it to one of the subtheme, so that I add an extra coding reference there. Just similar to words, actually. Simple, right? But because you haven't used an Excel, you just see what it's like. But if you just start input an Excel, what is it like? Now I just want to do a demo because you don't have an Excel in your files to play with. What is like when you just freshly import in Excel files? Okay, remember, data. Normally, data set refer to the survey that you do. So you click survey, and of course, I have to choose an Excel file. So here is an Excel file that I've done my survey. So I select the Excel file, and they will ask you a number, okay, well, and ask you to make a response, will be stored as case. Okay, that's step number 1. And then press next. Press the next button. Where's the next button? Couldn't see the next button. Control fine. Survey. Couldn't see the next button. Let me try it again. Open. Couldn't see the next button. Somehow, where's the next button? Couldn't see the next button for whatever reason. Nah, didn't work out. Sorry, couldn't show you for whatever reason. Can you see? I didn't. You mean down below? But how to minimize this?
Let me see.
No, that's.
Let me try something. What's this first?
Is it the resolution thing?
I guess maybe the resolution.
That's why it didn't show the full screen.
Would you just try again?
Okay. Let me try again. Data, survey. Yeah, that's the one. Let's see. Next, there's the next button hidden. Sorry, it's about the resolution that I said earlier. Thanks so much. So now, as you import in Excel, they will show you, hey, we got different information in your Excel files, and then you said, yeah, those are the column you want to be in, or those are the display in terms of date, month, year. That's the way how you want to be displayed like this. And then you say, yes, next. And there is, you might ask whether which is the unique column, because the first column is the ID, so I keep it as is. And then next. Now, this is a page that you might be looked. These are the close-ended. What it meant is, normally with a survey, we'd say maybe the demographic data, there's a very fixed sort of close answer. It's not a box filled in opinion. So we call close-ended answer. So they said those are the close-ended answer. Only there's a column where you got text filled in. So we call those open-ended. Now at this point, if you want to have everything in, you just say next. But sometimes you don't really need everything into this file. You might at this point say, I don't want to import the start date, or I don't need to have the rating. So at this point, as you import the Excel file, you can just choose, say, I don't need this column nor this column, and then next. Okay. And it even asks you, do you want auto-coded for you? You can say yes and leave it and see what it's like, but you don't have to use it. But you can leave it there if you want to see what the auto-coded is. So we said, yeah, finish. So we did in seconds, really in seconds. Then the file is added. Okay, the file is added to the system. This is a top 50 class. It's another Excel file. This is the previous file that I have. This is a new file that I just add to my system. Remember, I don't need to have all the columns. I just want to have some columns where I can do the coding, and you can make it wider if there are things that you want to do with it so that it's easier for you to see. So remember I said I did some auto coding and comes with the sentiments. That is automatically, whatever script that it has, automatically it will put in a positive note, if not a negative sense, naturally by the system. But at the moment, because all these are websites, so there is nothing in there show, but for the sentiment, that's what it meant. If there are descriptions about expression, it will have automatically sort of categorized in those sentiment folder. And so that's what the Excels or the survey that you want to do. So it's the import. Afterwards, you got the script in or the content in. You code each column manually. Okay. So after doing all this coding, what do you want to do? We did so much hard work the past 2 hours. Code, whether Excel, images. What do you want to do? You want to see the results, don't you? So what is the results after all this sort of coding? Here I would just kind of give you a sense. After we've done all the coding, let me close this one first. Okay. We want to see the results. Now, where to see the result after you code many, many files? Let me close this Excel or Word. I want to see, okay, I've done some hard work. Let me look at the result. There's a tab called Query. Query. If you click Query, you can try with your files and see what it's like, okay? So you want to explore the coding that you've done. You've spent hours coding. So, okay, click it. You will be open a box. Okay, what do you want to find? Well, I want to look at the files that I have that code. There is a ... here. It was said, oh, now, where does it come from? Remember, as you open this tab, there is a little box. Did you see it? A little box with ... If you click, it will open up to a page where you select what quotes you have done, but you don't need to read all the quotes. You just want to see some. Okay, open the note folder, and then with the note folder, you have quite a number of notes there that you have done. Okay, I just want to look at some, not all of them. Right, I want to look at this category and this category. Remember, I have sub-notes here, but I just want to look at 2 of them, not all of the codings I've done. You select the codes that you have done. I said, okay. And then run query. After you select what you have done, the navigation of the software is not exactly smooth. Once you say these are the things that you want to choose, remember the ... you have to run query. Return no result. Probably I have not selected the right category. Sorry for that. Let me try it again. I select the notes. Maybe. Perception of news. I have got some codings there. Let me quote or select all of them. Okay, I select them and then see. Oh, it's still no result for some reason. select notes, right, and select item. And then run query. Oh, student error for some reason. Sorry. Coding query. Internal, and then with the notes. Should be able to run a query. Sorry for that. Sorry. I need to. Now, I want you to try out with your source and run the queries and see whether you can find something. Okay. Let me try again. All selected notes. The query cannot be run because there are missing values. Strange. Well, I couldn't make it for whatever reason, but see if your sample files worked, because I've tried this before and then generate a report. Let me show. Can you select some from your file?
Does not work. And then no query.
Still doesn't missing values.
Yes. The same result.
Strange. Let's see the next one query. Save results. I'm just testing whether the things are working or not. Well, I try other type of search. Let's start first. Query, there are different types of search. Other than coding, you can use word search, text search. Let's try with the word search frequency. Now, you can choose the most frequency words from your files that is in your testing sample files projects. At the moment, you can choose and change the characters because 3 words can be the, which you don't want to. Let's add up to 5 letters. And I want to see the most frequent, instead of 1,000, I just say 100, the most frequent words with 5 letters from the source, all sources, and see, and then run the query. So you will have a list of words, or the most, I said, frequency words. That is the highest count with 156 with classes for my case, and for your project might be a different words. But with that, it just gives you the highest frequency of certain words. There are, on your far right tab, other than a list of table, you can look at the word cloud. Can you see your word cloud? That is, it's still based on the frequency. That is because you have the class, the central, in my case, those are the highest frequencies, so those are the most prominent word cloud. And if I really want to click the next tree map is similar, but just displayed slightly differently. Class is still the most, in terms of the most prominent, in my case, most prominence of words being mentioned in my script. So if you try your files, you may have a different phrase or words. But what it meant is it comes with the highest frequency word to the lower frequency words. So the size represents the number of words. And if there is another cluster called cluster analysis, the lowest bottom right tab, it will see some kind of linking between words. And at the moment, it didn't explain in details how this kind of linkage being sort of clustered in that manner, right? But for us, as a researcher, this is a very so-called first-hand, as if you have a big, massive data. Okay, first I want to see what are the most frequency terms, if not words, being described in your sets of data. That gives you not the themes, but a sense. Okay, those are the words that comes with classes in my files. What does it make sense to you? So you might want to look more closely. You can also play a little bit with this grouping. You can, because I'm looking at the exact wording, so I can also switch. Maybe something that's related or similar, then I can choose it. The system will do the cluster for me. So let's see if I just say, not exactly the word, but similar meaning can cluster together. Let me run the query again. Now, this time you see other information. Originally, I choose class as the phrase or the word, but because I want to have similar words clustered together, the system will do it for you. And you can't change it, okay? You cannot change, I think this doesn't belong to the cluster. No, the system, they have built in a cluster of words related to the meaning. They will cluster together for you. So what it meant is they have kind of gathered the similar meanings together, and then for you, it may be faster to see, okay, still the class is the most, to me, is the most prominent thing that I want to explore further. And what I need to do from this point, okay, is really to go to look at them. By clicking those areas, it gets me back to the original source. Because all these are going through the loops, searching for the words within your scripts. So where does it come from? What does it mean? How does it relate it? So by clicking those words, it goes to the word, okay, but with context. That is, bring you back. Who said this? What is it related to? Is it about what? Remember, all these words, all these sort of clusters doesn't give you the themes. You are the ones to go back to the context to sense what does it meant to be. So once you click one of the themes, the most frequency words, and then you still have to read, sample some of those words together, and then making sense, okay, it refers to a theme. Now you have to give a theme to it. It just gives you the word. It doesn't give you the theme. Okay? So this will kind of speed up the search. Once you got the highest frequency words, you can save it if you think it makes sense. Okay? If it makes sense to you, you can give a label. You can give a coding name to it. Then it did it automatically in that sense. But if it doesn't make sense to you, you need to still read through them, but they have collect those phrases together, or those script together. You read through them, and then just based on the same classified word, and you give a theme on it. Okay? Does it help for this one? So I still haven't resolved the problem about query, why I couldn't retrieve the query. I just show you other possibility. As you do the query, there are word frequency, or you can search exactly the word to see. And I'm not going through the query wizard, because that will be pretty much looking into cases analysis, which we will go through in a second. By May, when you've gone through your study, we will compare cases, and which will be covered in May. So at this point, you have a fun to look at the codes, the notes, and from your sample, can you see the word reports? Okay, click report. Now remember, your report is different from mine, because the report have been sort of saved from the person who will work with this project. Okay, click at the report, because sometimes when you run the queries, run the search, they will save reports to the result. We call this result or report folder. Sorry, this is the report. If you click the report, the folders, can you click the folders instead of reports? Go to the folders, and then you will see, and then appear to you all the folders above, right? But you click the result folder. Do you have any result folder in your files? Because I haven't saved any results in the folder. Any? Yeah. So sometimes when you run queries, whether keywords or whatever, you can save all your search or the query. Automatically, naturally, it goes to the result folder. Okay, it will come to your result folder. I want you to have a read of your result folder. That's the sort of query the person have done in the past, and it's saved in the result folder. I want you to read one or two of the result files in your own sample project.
Report?
Okay. You go to the folder first, and then look at the results. There are some results that the query done in the past for you, and you can folder. And then go to the results. You might have some result that they have searched in the past.
I don't have a result saved. Results. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. You can have a read the result files. You see two files from your sample projects, and those are the sort of queries they have searched for. One is in a table format, which we will talk a lot about it, about the classification, that will be related to your case comparison. And there are some results generated called negative tweets. And if you see those results, and click the files, and you can see all these are generated from the original files where the negative tweets derived. Oh, you go to the report, go to the result. Yeah, these are the results. These are the report. Go to folder, and then the results. Results are query that you add, you run queries, and then they will save some result together. But these results are based on the sort of queries they have run. And you might also look at the reports, because I know some of you go to the reports folder. So for reports, remember we have coding, we have notes. They have saved these results automatically. So those are the things related to failed. What happened? Can you see some of the reports in your files? Those are the reports. Just click anyone. By note report. Just click anyone. Select them.
Okay.
And then see. Yep. Does it show anything? Show nothing?
I just kicked you out of the phone. No.
What about? Maybe those are not real reports. It's just like it to me. Haven't saved the report there. It hasn't, right? No. So sorry, I just kind of, some of you see, note structure report. Yes. Can you choose note structure report? Yeah. If you just double click it, it should open there. That report, the note structure report, you will wonder why there are so many pages there. Partly because the person who walked done through a lot of coding and automatically it saved or no, in a sense, if you want to save a report of the coding, it just captures every note where they have that note as a file to you. That is, if you really want to see where you code them, that's a report to you and that you can refer to. So we have really kind of have a sense there are things that we code, there are reports that comes back to us in terms of what sort of coding we have as a report. And I apologize that for the query part, I don't understand why I couldn't see the coding thing. In terms of the matrix coding, we leave it for the next time because it relates to different cases relationship. So far, let me get back to, or to summarize a little bit. I'm moving away for the NVivo for the time being, partly because after we kind of play with it and play in terms of the software, I want to kind of recapture about what we have walked through that we have seen. There are multiple coding that we have done, and one person asked about where we can see the coding reliability. You can go back and check. There is a button to click. They just give you the report. At the moment, unless you're working as a team, that is 2 or 3 people. Otherwise, on the same files, then it doesn't really matter to you about the coder reliability. Certainly, you need to be consistent in terms of as you do the coding. And how do you verify? How do you verify about the coding? One thing is, if you got someone to be your friend, to sample some of your work, so that you can kind of sample how you do the coding, whether they are consistent or not. But for people who got funding and budget, you can employ someone who's external to do samples or auditing about the coding. And if you don't have money or friends, then you can ask your colleagues who sit next to you, can you be my buddy and have a look at it? Okay. So in a sense, it's a process to ensure the validity of the coding, that you do it singly. Coding is a process. It's kind of, it goes through a cycle. You feel like, wow, when can I start? When do I stop? You start creating new codes. You're given a sample project that you can start off. But if you are starting from a plain sheet, then you have to define what's the parent node, what's the child node, okay, how many layers you want to have. You define it. Try 2 or 3 scripts. Remember, you have 20, 30. Try 10% and see whether there is consistency in terms of the coding. And then afterward, you code few more and see whether the first batch is related or consistent with the next batch. Once you have kind of consolidated the node that you have, then you go through the rest of the coding. Okay. From time to time, you give yourself a break from the files that you've spent so much time in. Maybe a week, 2 weeks later, you just revisit some of the coding that you did. Just have a fresh eye, okay? So you might start off easily building quotes, 10, 20, 30, that many categories. Sometimes you just say, oh, this is another category. Oh, let me give another name. Easily done, you just create new node, right? But afterwards, it's almost like cooking. You put a lot of water in, boil, and after a while, you need to simmer it so that it gets fewer. From 0 to quite a bundle, and you have to narrow it down. That is, you don't go keep expanding. There are so many themes, I don't know how they are related. At the end, you need to have clean up. Remember, you need to merge some of the codes together because they are actually quite similar. In order to help you to write a paper with clear themes, that's yet another process. Now, the coding helps you to build up the ideas, the branches, but afterwards, the branches might be linked, related. You have to kind of get them in control so that they have some clear themes along the way. Or you build your new models. Remember, you can start off with a framework or you can create your own model. This is a long list of things that you do or you need to do. The list compiled with your first idea, what you want to explore, research on. You consolidate what methodology, whether you do survey, interviews, so on and so forth. And then you start coding and refining. By doing so, there is something that before you use the system. Remember, you can auto-coding with style. If you are really systematically asking the same research question before you import it to the system, you put them into right style so that once the auto-coding will get you the right question and the responses for the question. So you need to have some cleanup first. In terms of the interviewee, you need to make sure no names are there. That is, you can put a pseudonym, Mary, James, okay, but not the student's or original name, such that they may be identified. And then that's some cleanup you need to work on. And sometimes you can also do some preparation. That is, if you gather someone who do the transcription, you might want to have bolds. That is, you sense the keywords. You bold it as even before you import it to the system. it helps in the past for me because without the software, I would bold some key ideas quickly. You spot some ideas, you just bold it. As you import to the system, the bold is still there. That is, the characters are still in bold. And it's quicker when you work with a file rather than just going through the software, because the software is slow down the process. It's a heavy sort of software, so sometimes it's a bit slow. You can see I'm clicking here and wait for it to run. Unless you really got a very powerful notebook, and sometimes it's a bit slower in that process. So I would do it in the Word. If I would do is bold some keywords. And those are things that you might need to take note of. One thing is where to stop. As we do research, I mean, how many is enough? How many people do we need to interview? How much data is so-called saturated? What is saturated means? What is saturated? You said, oh, it's enough. I don't need to interview anymore. Or, no, enough, the data is good enough. What is saturated? No more new themes. You read through, the next thing is repeated, similar ideas repeatedly, then suddenly you don't need to collect more. When you're saturated, that is, you hear many story, hey, this story start repeating. That story, oh, I heard that kind of story, even though it might be slightly different, but it's very similar. Then you know your data is saturated. That is, you have enough sort of sources of information to consolidate what you want to look into. So for you, sometimes if you don't do the coding, it's hard for you to say, hey, we got enough data. But if you do your interview, remember you sample some of the word and then do the coding and have a sense of what you want to ask, you build along as you collect your data. You build the transcript, you build the coding as you interview. So you don't interview too many. That is, once you say, hey, that's a repeated story or that's a repeated pattern, then you think, that's good enough. Then that's the time you need to stop. Okay? Don't collect more than you need to. Research is research in a set of data. Sometimes when you walk through the depth of the data, you might have new ideas from a different perspective. I remember I gone through the grounded, that is going through line by lines, if not coming themes. And actually, at that time, I haven't used the auto code. I haven't used the word frequency. And as I go through the same set of data, I try the auto coding, the free text frequency thing, yet I get more ideas to look into the set of data. So as you do your research, you have your ideas, your own ideas, but you can use those frequency words as an additional alternative way to hint you, give you hints in terms of what kind of ideas that you might have missed out. That is, so many things repeated that words. I didn't notice it because my focus is pretty much on a certain angle. Because I've been into the literature review for so much, I only look at that dimension and miss out another one. So sometimes that kind of auto coding, if not frequency word, give you some new insight sometimes. Okay. I think we are coming closer to the end of the session. There are many videos that's been in YouTube. I mean, I share all these resources with you. I mean, you don't need to copy because all these links are available, from how to import the data to how to do step-by-step guide. At the moment, you will see I'm using NVivo 10, even though your software is NVivo 11. They are very similar in many features. So unless you are working on social media, then you might want to have NVivo 11 because they can capture the data with buttons of click. Okay, but in terms of the coding, the analysis, query, they are quite similar in features. So don't worry about the NVivo 10 or NVivo 11. As I said, I got a long list of videos that you can see. But how many of you are using Mac instead of PC? I haven't asked you, I should have asked you at the beginning. Any one of you use Mac? Macintosh? Okay, Macintosh, if you're using Mac to use NVivo, they are not as well developed as PC. Don't ask why. Maybe they start off with the PC. So you might find some features are not exactly matching the Mac that you are using. Not as, yeah, that's we have compared a little bit between them. But otherwise, if you are doing the basic thing, they're fine. And if you are doing the PC in the lab and you save whatever result that you have in your flash drive, and if you use this PC and take it back to a Mac, sorry, it doesn't work. So don't mix they are not friends. They're not friendly. PC and Macintosh, they do not talk to each other. So you might spend a lot of time working with PC and somehow, how come my Mac didn't read the files? Okay, you'll be sorry. So don't mix the two sort of platform or system. If you're using Mac, continues to use Mac to do your coding, PC and PC only. Don't mix both, either of them. Okay. I think I've gone through most of the things. And these, you can, as I said, I will share this file with you. You can go through and click any one of those. Anyone who do literature review in PDF? Do you read your literature review in documents, I mean in articles? Very often, that's really last thing. I don't want you to try it, but if you have PDF, but you have to test it first. Some PDF works better than the other. If you want to do your literature review in PDF, it's possible that you import the PDF to the system. As you read the article, hey, this statement, if not this citation is useful, you can just highlight it and put it into your system. So it will save you. If you want to extract the literature review on a certain quotes directly, it goes to the point. But you have to try the file first, because I tried with some PDF file works better than the other. But that's what I mean by you can try it. And some people do that literature review with all the PDF files through NVivo. Okay. For video, I mean, I'm not showing it to you. You can import video. For the video, is there any video in the sample work? Internal files? Internal files. Just click there. Open it. So, yes, you see there are videos. Betty and Paul. Okay, so you can certainly import video to the system. Now, one thing, there are two possibilities. You import files to your system. It means it carries a lot of stuff in the system. It might slow it down. You can, okay, it can. Alternatively, if you have your video saved in your PC, you can say that's as an external file. Instead of putting it to the system, there is an external files. So you can put your video in your PC, and then you can just point to the video in your PC, so that as you try to read and watch and analyze doing coding, it doesn't drag the system down too much. Okay, so back to the video. Interview. Internal interview. So if you open Betty and Paul, you will see a video there. It's embedded there. So for this one, you can play it, but at the same time, you see that actually the video, whatever script is in, has been transcribed. They would suggest, well, do I need to transcribe every single phrase or every conversation from the video? You don't have to, okay? And as you play the video, I mean, if you have the video, you can listen to the script at whatever seconds, and you can stop at a certain seconds and then put a note in, if not put a quote in, with the fraction of those seconds that you want to quote. So you add a note to the video, or here you got the transcription already. It's just like a Word file. You quote it and then relate it to your notes that you have. But one thing is, because if we use video, very often it's heavy in terms of the file size, and you don't, unless you really want to transcribe everything, 1 hour of interview takes 8 hours of transcription. And not every sentence is useful. So if you use audio as an interview, you can save it as audio file. You can choose to have video files, either or. Audio files is lighter in terms of the file size, but you have to listen to it every time. Once you listen to it, you quote it the seconds immediately. Otherwise, you have to go back to listen from the first minute to the last. So that's the advantage of video and audio. Audio, in terms of it's lighter, small in file size, but then you every time if you want to go back to do the verification, it's harder. It's harder.
But I have a question. So for the transcription,
yeah,
it's still done by the interviewer.
You mean this bit?
Yeah, or done by the software.
No software do it for you. Sorry. Now, if you go to YouTube, they have you can show the caption.
Oh, okay.
But those captions are auto-generated. That is, there are spelling mistakes, there are spelling errors in those captions. And I'm not so sure whether you can export both the video and the caption together. I'm not sure. You have to check with you have to test with the MN capture, whether that will capture just the text or the video or the text. You have to test it. So, but normally you can see the nice, beautifully transcribed transcription because it's done by man, human being. Go through hours of transcription. But for researcher, I would still ask you to think more closely. Do you need to do full transcription? That's the first question. Second, if you don't want to do the full transcription, and you still have to have someone reliable to say, hey, these are the minutes I want to have this transcribed. Okay, so because you have the video, you might say, oh, this is the sort of seconds or minute I want to have it transcribed. Then you have to make the decision which minutes you want to have it transcribed. Once it's transcribed, you just put it relate to the note. If not, if you just use the video, unless you want to, every time you watch the video again, or that section of video again. That's the beauty, if not the issues. If you use video, it's nice, you have the visual, and at the same time, if you want to make annotation with the video that you think is important, then you can highlight the part of the capture of the image and then put annotation with the image as well. So depends on the purpose of your research. Yes.
I want to ask a question about data privacy. Does NVivo actually take the data that you analyze in its system? Do they claim it? So in other words, if you're saving files and analyzing them using NVivo software, do they have a right to the data? The reason I'm asking is because sometimes we might want to code psychotherapy transcripts with people saying personally identifiable information in them who certainly haven't agreed in their ethics form that they are willing to do that. So I'm just curious about it.
Well, for a website with public access, right? This is a public accessible website. So the information is public.
So using NVivo does come with this risk that essentially
First, now, one thing is you always gone through your ethics clearance committee. This is the project you are doing. This is the page, like for example, Twitter. That's the Twitter I want to explore, or Facebook I want to explore. You write it in your research ethics clearance and allow them to see this is public information. There's no password, no password protections. Okay, and they, on one hand, you got a panel to kind of back you up, saying, yeah, it's a good idea to do some research on Facebook. Okay, and when you do your when you do your write-up, if you really want to use direct quotes from the page, because there are links, from, because it will show you the authors, the person, the time, everything is dragged to your system. So if you really want to use direct quotes from the source, you must spell out the source. That is who said it, if you really want to write with reference to the person. Normally, we don't because particularly for public social media, things are very open, but at the same time, you need to, like citation. You refer to which articles, who's the author, where you cite it, where you quote it. So as long as you have the reference where you get the set of data, as you write your paper, that's needed. And of course, you got the ethics clearance back you up. That's a very good question. Thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you, Dr. Hodgson. This is the end of the workshop. So
And in fact, I think this is a very challenging task for us. This is the software we have to go through. But as I said, the slides, I will have so many videos that you can go home and re-watch them again. And they have short videos, 2 to 3 minutes, and some video are an hour long. So it's up to you. You can view them, but they cover the similar sort of coding system that you need to have, and you can watch it anytime.